everyone, today we are here to talk about Lord of Shadows, the second book in the Dark Artifices, written by Cassandra Clare. This book, it broke me, it made me happy, it made me sad, it broke me, it pieced me back together, then it broke me again. So many thoughts on this book. So, obviously, if you have not read this book, please do not watch any further. It's gonna be a big old spoiler fest. Like, I'm gonna talk right in the gate about spoilers because I have so much to say, and I know I'll be able to say everything I want to say because it's already gonna be a long enough video as it is. Either way, if you haven't read this series, please do. If you're wondering if you need to read these other books in order to read this series, the answer is unfortunately yes. There is a lot of like prep work you have to like read before you get into this series, so I would recommend reading the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices, and I know that's a lot, but this series is my favorite by hers. I feel like the writing is so much better, like I can invest in it more, I like the characters more, I like the relationships more, like everything about this series I just love. So yeah, if you haven't read this book, sorry, please do not watch any further. I don't want to spoil it for you. Sorry. So first up, I'm going to try to categorize my thoughts as best I can, but I'm sure they're going to be all over the place. I want to talk about the relationships, the many relationships we have in this book. Then I'm going to talk about kind of some of the characters, then I'm going to talk about the plot, and so we'll just see where this journey takes us. Who knows how it'll go or not, let's just go into it together. Alright, let's talk about first, Emma and Julian, our two main characters, our, big relationship, our big thing going on here. Forbidden, that's the word when you think of Emma and Julian, is forbidden because they are two Parabati, and of course two Parabatis cannot be in love because they will slowly become mad and just like kill everybody around them. So this whole series is kind of the culmination of two Parabatis falling in love, whether they can break that bond and things like that. We learned in this book, like at the end of last book, Emma went to Mark and was like, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to like pretend you're in love with me because she knew what hurt Julian. And Mark's like, who says we have to pretend? So we were all like, holy crap, are they really gonna fall in love? Like, this is really gonna mess it up. But with this book, we learned that they did not really fall in love. They love each other like brother and sister. So that was diminished very, very quickly, which I am very happy about because I don't know what I'd do myself if Emma and Mark were together. I really don't. I love the relationship of Emma and Julian, and I also hate it. A lot of people, love it, and I love it as well, but there are some parts where I think that they're really good for each other, then some parts I think they're not good for each other, mainly because of Julian. We'll talk about him in a second, but I mostly like Emma and Julian. It's just, like, it's a cursed relationship, like, it's like a forbidden love. They really can't be in love, so of course they are in love. We learn in this book that Julian has learned how to break the Parabati bond, and it is by breaking all Parabati bonds, like every single one that ever existed. And of course, if you're as a reader yourself, I'm like, no, that can't happen. You cannot do that. You cannot break every Parabati bond. And Emma's like, we would never do that. And Julian's like, no, we wouldn't, but we used it as leverage. And I'm like, what are you crazy? You're crazy. This boy is so crazy. So they told the Inquisitor that they were in love and all this other stuff, and he was actually going to help them, and he was going to put Emma in exile until they can kind of learn how to break the bond and do the research. And then of course the ending happens, and that just blows everything up out of the question. So who knows what's going to happen with the next book, but Emma and Julian, I like them. I won't say they're my favorite relationship in this book, honestly, in this particular one. Like, I liked a lot of the other relationships more, but I still like the basis of Emma and Julian and how this whole, business of Parabati being in love, because we never read anything like that before. So I hope to learn more about other Parabatis that fall in love, because Magnus told them to look up these two different people of two Parabatis that fell in love. So I'm hoping in the next book we learn more about their story and what happened. And obviously something big is going to happen in the next book. Like, obviously everything's happening big, but this curse has got to happen next book, because there's like this imminent curse that everybody's talking about. They're going to be mad, they're going to kill everybody. This curse has got to come to fruition next book. It's going to have to happen, and I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to get crazy, and I don't even know. About Emma real quick before I talk about Julian. Weirdly enough, I have a lot more to say on Julian. That's not weirdly enough, I think all of us do. I love Emma. I think she's great. She kind of reminds me of a Jace Jr. She's very sarcastic, very witty, very strong, but she has a lot of heart. Like, she would do, a lot for her friends and, her family, pretty much, her friends being her family. And she's just a very overall well-rounded character, and I really enjoy reading about Emma. So I love Emma. She's definitely one of my favorite characters in this whole series. And that brings me to talk about Julian. I have a lot to say about Julian. Julian very, very dark in this book. Like the first book, we all saw kind of a little glimpse of his darkness, lengths he would go to keep his family safe, but this book really, really brought it to light. Like, I remember reading the first book, I was like, Julian, you kind of angsty, you got a lot of, you know, darkness in you. You got some darkness in you. This book, I was like, who are you? You are very, like, is scary. Like, he is scary. Like, he will literally do anything. He will hurt anyone. He will kill anyone. He will do anything he has to do at the cost of anybody else to keep his family protected. He will do anything. And Emma sees it more and more. More times in this book, she said, Julian, you're scaring me, or stop scaring them. She sees the darkness in him, and it's hopefully starting to, like, scare her even more about the darkness in him. Like, he is becoming more and more dark. And I mean, he went through so much. It makes sense. He went through a lot. He had to kill he went through the Dark War. He had to kill his father when he was 12. He had to raise his 4 siblings when he was starting to be 12. Like, that's a lot to throw on a 12-year-old. I can understand some of the darkness in him, but like, like something's gonna happen in this next book. We are gonna see Julian get very, very dark, obviously because of what happened at the very end of this book. Like, I would not be surprised if Julian is like not one of the villains of next book because of the very last of the book. But his darkness is gonna come even more. Like, a lot of people were saying, you're ruthless, and just this next book is gonna bring like really, really dark Julian. Like, it's like, I'm scared to read about it, but I can't wait to read about it because I want to see what happens. Like, he's like kind of an anti-hero, if you will. Like, Julian, like, so much. I love him so much, but then the more I read about him, the more I'm like, you're scary. You're scary. Next, let's talk about the love triangle that is Christina, Mark, and Kiernan. Is it Kiernan or Kieran? I think it's Kiernan. He has 2 N's in his name, Kiernan. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I apologize if I did not. I did not think I would ship all of these 3 characters together, but I freaking do. Like, I don't know why. Like, in the first book, I was very much anti-Kiernan because of the pain and hurt he caused Mark. In this book, it's very much different. And he's trying to atone for his actions. He lost his memory. They go to save him, all this other stuff. And then we have Christina in the mix as well. Mark has feelings for Christina. Christina has feelings for Mark. But then we have Kiernan, who has pledged fealty to Christina in the fairy court. And something's kind of like building with that, like with Christina dancing with Mark, and then Kiernan's like, let me show you how you dance. Christina's like, it was like dancing with fire. And Emma like hit the nail on the head. She's like, are you about to like have a fairy threesome up in here? And I was like, is this what's gonna happen? Like, what? Like, it's intense. Like, that's intense. So I don't know, are they all 3 gonna be in a relationship together? A part of me thinks one of them's probably gonna have to get the axe. I don't want it to happen, but I don't know. Either they're all 3 gonna be together, or one's probably not gonna make it, and we'll just have those 2 people be together. It's horrible to say, but that's how my feelings with it. But I love Christina. I love Christina. I love how strong she is. I love how brave she is. I love that she really values herself as a person. Like, she does not take any crap from anybody. She will walk away from a situation if she knows that she does not deserve to be in that situation. So I love Christina. She's one of my top favorites as well. But this triangle, tell me what you think about it. Do you ship all 3 of these people? Do you ship 2 together? Like, what are your feelings? Like, I'm so mixed on it. Like, so many feelings. Then we have Diana and Gwen. I love this so much. Like, this might be my favorite relationship. I mean, we have the leader of the Wild Hunt and like the tutor of a Shadow Hunter Institute, and it's so amazing because the first book we read, Gwen was very much a very strong, very brutal, very, you know, scary kind of man, and then to see him like flirting with Diana, like really treating her right and telling her she's beautiful and like my lady, and it was just so adorable to read about, especially when Diana revealed her story about her being a transgender and her process. That was such a beautiful thing to read about as well, and how Gwen accepted her for being herself and he loved her even more for it. Like, I am here for this ship. Like, I will stay on this ship. And then we have Kit and Ty. This ship hasn't happened yet, but I think a lot of people will riot, me included, if it doesn't happen, because it's so clearly obvious and clearly adorable. The relationship and the friendship that these 2 characters have, how they're just kind of molded with each other. Like, Kit really understands Ty and his autism, which, by the way, I love the fact that Ty has autism. I love the fact that she put autism in this book because it's so relevant. A lot of people have autism, and I don't think a lot of people know about that. And so it's very relevant to today, and I loved how they explained how Ty was and how Kit really helped him and listened to him and was just a great friend to him. And I love that. I love that. And I love the addition of Kit. First book, I wasn't so sure about him, but this book, I fell in love with him, and I love the journey he went through in this book. From the beginning, he wasn't really happy to be in the shadow in this institute, and he made like a list of why he hated being here. He's like, people won't let me go home, they won't let me eat cookies, they look like they're fit all the time. Like, it was so funny. And by the end of the book, one of the writers asked Kit what his name was. He's like, what's your name, boy? And he's like, I'm Christopher Herondale. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, you're a Herondale. Like, he owned it. He's there. And he also said, I think at one point several times he wanted to run away, but then at one point, you know, I think Ty was questioning him about running away, or some part, I forget exactly where, but he never says this, but you see that his thoughts are, and he says that he knows he will be wherever the Blackthorns are, like that's his home now. And I love that he just has come to accept the Blackthorns as his family, and it's just the Blackthorns, man. So good. So conflicted with Julian, but so good. We'll see Kit and Ty happen in the next book. It's gonna be a lot more strained and a lot more sad, obviously, because of what happened at the end of this book. So I don't know if it will really progress into what we want to see it progress, but I think they're gonna bond more, or maybe Ty will push Kit away because of the events that happen. I don't know. We just have to wait and see what happens. Either way, I hope it happens, but it's going to be interesting to read about them in the next book because of what happened, honestly. We also get to see some old fays. We get to see Magnus and Alec and their 2 children, which is adorable. I love seeing how the relationship is so grounded and so much more like they're both so much stable with the relationship and just have come to accept it. And I also, oh yeah, Magnus is like super sick, by the way. Like, the end he passes out and his powers are depleting a lot. We learned that Tessa's powers are depleting a lot. So it's like a warlock thing, that their powers are diminishing slowly. Is that because of the Unseelie King? I don't know. So many questions. And we also get to see glimpses of Jason Clary, who I love, one of my favorite old like OTPs. Like, I always love them. And we also learn in the beginning of this book, when Clary confides in Emma that she's been having these dreams that she's going to die. She said it's not going to be like, you know, down the road death. It's going to be very, very soon. And we learn that that's the reason why she said no to Jason's proposal. And she confides in Emma to tell her, you know, when she does die, not if, she says when, to tell Jace that's why she said no. And it's just like, what is gonna happen? Is this last book gonna be like Clary's death? Like, I think Cassandra Clare said that this series, like this last book in this particular trilogy, is gonna be the saddest one of all the endings she's ever done. And her endings have been pretty like happy, like things have happened that are great, and not a lot of heartbreak comes from them. Usually there's always like a light at the end of the tunnel. Is the light gone? Is it like done? Like, are we like, she's like, I gave you a light, now you're gonna go in this deep dark hole of despair. Oh, I'm not ready for that. So who knows? Is Clary gonna die in the next book, or is she gonna die in the next series? Who knows? Who knows? Okay, let's talk a little bit about the plot now, because so much happened in this book, and I know I'll forget some things. Obviously, I know I will, because this is a 700-page book, so I will definitely forget a lot of things. I think the whole lingering arc, especially in this trilogy, is the cold peace. We have people kind of on either side of the cold peace. Either a lot of people are against it and they want to end it and they want to see everything, you know, everything be equal, and then we have other people that really want to enforce the cold peace, register downworlders, you know, to make the shadow hunters rise to their former glory. So we have like 2 sets of people that want differentiating things about the cold peace. But I'd say the whole lingering arc is this cold peace and this imminent war that is going to happen between fairies and the shadow hunters, and it's gonna get intense. See Malcolm come back, because no one is really dead unless you see their body, and even then they might not really be dead. The amazing author sacrifices himself as like the, you know, way to bring Annabelle back for his family, so his family would get hurt. And Arthur is such an underrated character. Like, he I love Arthur, and the fact that he did that. And then Annabelle comes back, which we were all kind of expecting, obviously, and then the first thing she does, and she straight up kills Malcolm. Like, the first thing, he's like, oh, my love, my sweet Annabelle. Boom, you're dead. I didn't see that coming. Did you see that coming? I did not. I was like, what the heck? I think we were all expecting like Annabelle and Malcolm to like hold hands and be like, let's destroy this whole world. And no, Annabelle's like, no, I'm gonna kill you, because she was apparently has been awake really this whole time. Like she could hear, and she could like hear things, and she wasn't fully like alive yet. So wasn't expecting that. Wasn't expecting that. Julian, Emma, Mark, and Christina enter Fairy and learn that Shadowhunter powers do not work in the Unseelie lands. Like, and there's like a blight. Somehow it has been this way that they can't use any of their powers. Like their runes don't work. They can't use their Seraph blades. They can't like, you know, do anything really. They're just regular people in Unseelie land, which is not a good thing at all. Then they make a deal with the Seelie Queen, which I am never a fan of. Like why do we keep continuing to make deals with this queen? Why? When has this ever brought anything good? When has it ever? I don't know why we even keep talking about the Seelie Queen. I just don't even want to see her anymore ever again. Like, I don't know why. Oh, she's the worst. And so she makes a deal. They make a deal with her, and you know, she wants them to find the black book and give it to her so she can stop the Unseelie King. And also the Unseelie King has something of her prisoner, which we'll talk more about. And, you know, also this will help get Helen and Mark. This will also get Helen back. And also this will help Julian to really break the Parabody bond. So the Unseelie King wants this black book, and we don't know why. Is it to raise the army from the dead? Is it to raise his, like, first heir ever that got like stolen from him, I believe? We don't know why the Unseelie King wants this black book, but we know he's ruthless and horrible, and either way, if he gets his hands on it, that is not good. It's not good at all. We have the additions of the Centurions come in, and with them comes Dolores Umbridge. I mean, Zara Dearborn. She is literally the worst, and her dad is like the head of the cohort, and they are the people that really want Downworlders to register themselves, and they want to make Shadowhunters like the rise of glory and everything like that. And that Zara is such a liar, claiming that she's killed all these people, but she hasn't, because she is horrible and a liar, and she's a descendant of Umbridge, obviously, somehow. Harry Potter and this is intersected, and she's a descendant. Also, Diego and Zara are engaged because she knows that his family has this heirloom that is very, very powerful and a very big weapon, and only his family can use it. She's like, I'll be engaged to you to get that weapon. And then Jaime runs off with that weapon, and so we learn that Jaime, that this weapon, or as it can transport you to Fairy without being undetected. And he leaves his bag, and Drew touches it, and she gets transported into Fairy, and we're all like, what the heck, how did that happen? And then she goes into a room, and she's the boy her age with bright blonde hair and like green eyes, and I think it's probably the Seelie Queen's and Sebastian's baby. I mean, Christine from Pole Banana Books may have been right this whole time. I know that is a huge theory she's been saying for a long time now, and this is probably evidence of that. Also, is this the valuable like prisoner that the Unseelie, is he in the Unseelie court really? Do we know that? We don't know if we're in Seelie or Unseelie, and maybe this is an Unseelie and he's actually a prisoner of Unseelie, and that who's the Seelie Queen wants to get. Like that's the Unseelie King's prisoner, and that's who he stole from the Seelie Queen. I don't know. I mean, I'm banking. I think that Christina's right, that this is their baby, and there's also like Jason Clare searching for a weapon that Sebastian left behind. Could he have left behind a child? Is this the weapon? I mean, it all kind of ties together. It will be interesting if it's not, honestly, if it's not their baby, because it'd be interesting. But I'm pretty sure it is. And oh, that's intense. So we're nearing to the end with this huge council clave meeting, and Annabelle is there to give her testimony that she killed Malcolm, Aunt Zara, so like the Dearborns won't be head of the Los Angeles Institute, as well as to help bring Helen back, and then she can give Julian the black book. Make her hold the mortal sword, which is the worst idea ever, because Annabelle was tortured by the clave while holding the mortal sword. Why would they want to do that again to her? Why would they know that she's already unstable emotionally about going into this meeting, and then and make her hold the mortal sword? That's not going to help anything. It's going to make her feel worse. It's going to make her feel like she can't breathe, like she can't move, and that's exactly what it did. A lot of people start yelling, a lot of people start throwing things, and it just gets chaotic from there, and you can see that she is losing herself. Like she's like, everything's reminiscing to her, and a lot of people say that this is intentional, like she did all this intentionally. I'm on the fence about that because what happened to her was very, very heartbreaking and horrible, so memories could have haunted her that made her kind of delusional and maybe not remember that she did all these things. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, she freaking stabs Robert Lightwood, the head inquisitor, like Izzy's dad, and kills him. And that was a death I didn't see coming. I'm not super upset about it because I never really had any like really strong emotional attachments to Robert Lightwood, but still I was shocked about that. And then Emma starts to fight Annabelle and uses a sword and uses Cortana and freaking, I think she stabs the Black Book, and then she breaks the mortal sword with Cortana. This sword can do anything. She killed one of the writers. You are not supposed to be able to kill those writers. Like, they are supposed to never ever die. And she killed one of them with Cortana. And Cortana seems to somehow like absorb some of the like magic or whatever that it like touches or destroys. So I mean, did she absorb some of the Black Book in her sword? Did she absorb the mortal sword in her sword? Is Cortana now the mortal sword? What can't this sword do? This is literally the most powerful weapon in all of Shadowhunter, like, world, and everyone's gonna be vying for it, and it's gonna be really hard for Emma in the next book. Either way, the mortal sword is broken. The Annabelle picks up a piece, tries to stab Julian, doesn't get to Julian, and then she kills Livy. It was bad. It was bad. Didn't see that coming. I was not expecting one of the young ones to die. Oh, I wasn't expecting that they should do that again because of Max and the Mortal Instruments, but she did, and it was so sad because I think we all came to love Livy so much more in this book and appreciate her so much more. And you can just see the family outside in the hall. They all just kind of fall to their knees, and Ty's clutching his chest, and her death is going to be the hardest on Ty because that was her twin, that was her best friend, that was his other half. Like, they understood each other perfectly. Ty's going to take this so hard, and it's going to be so bad for him, and it's going to be bad for all the other siblings. But Ty had a special connection with Livy. And then Julian, of course, his whole mission in life is to protect his family, to do anything to keep them safe, and now one of them has been killed. Julian is going to be a vengeance machine this next book. Mark my words, he is going to stop at nothing to destroy every single person that had some sort of link that was either there or something that had to do with Livy's death. Like, he will not stop. I think he might use the Black Book now to bring Livy back from the dead. Whether or not he'll sacrifice himself for that, I'm not sure. Like I said, he could be an anti-hero in that fact. I'm thinking maybe, but either way, I think he will use the Black Book to do something with Livy. But Julian is going to get scary in this next book. Like, this is his worst fear. He lost one of his siblings. Wanted more than anything else is to keep his family safe. Is gone. One of his siblings is gone. So it's gonna be interesting to read the next book with that. Like, it's gonna be Julian Scary 5.0. Like, it's gonna be intense. Anyway, Annabelle puffs away in like shadow and leaves like an Unseelie King like logo or Unseelie King mark somewhere. So was she really like working with the Unseelie King, or did he kidnap her like he kidnapped Malcolm? Does she still have the Black Book? Where's the Black Book right now? I don't know. I need to read that, but let me know if you know. Either way, what the heck? What the heck? So that's all I have to say on this book. A lot happened. A lot more questions need to be answered. You know, all those things I talked about. Like, there's so many lingering questions that go on to the next book, which we have to wait 2 years for. 2 years. It's going to be the hardest wait of my life. It's going to be so hard. Either way, I loved every second of this book. I gotta say, this is my favorite series by her. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I'm obsessed with everything in this series, and I need to like take a break. I just need to like absorb everything because like I'm just numb of what happened in this series. So numb. So if you have any thoughts or theories about what's going to happen in the next book, please let's talk about it in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on what you think is going to happen, what you thought of the book, and everything like that. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.